Well, and that's a good place to go now. You just put out your agenda for running for USPSA president, and it looks like you have quite a few points here, 14 different points that you put out. Now, the one that seems to be getting the most heat is a code of conduct. So I figured we'll talk about that, let you give an opportunity to explain what you mean. And what are you looking at when you say a code of conduct for everybody and everybody adheres to it? What do you mean by that?
We are a national organization, and we are a nonprofit that has excess of more than 20,000 members in it. So any organization, nonprofit that has 20,000 members, you can go and look, and every single one of those corporations are going to have some type of code of conduct for their members, for their board of directors, for the people that work for them. And that's just a given. And I've said for years we need to have that. And then, well, of course, there's plenty of people out there going like, oh, Todd, that's just ridiculous. You just need to get rid of it. I was going like, well, it's actually there to help everyone. It's not there to hurt anyone or take anybody away. A code of conduct is just like, essentially, so you're telling me that you want to break a rule or maybe a law and still be able to do what you want to do. So here's a prime example. And somebody called me up the other day and they were all upset about it. So I was going like, okay, here's a code of conduct that we should have. Okay, so Dave, here's you and I are friends. So I get indicted for some reason. Let's say I get indicted for pornography, okay? But no one knows that. So I end up, grand jury comes in, they find me guilty of this crime. So a subpoena goes out. I have to go to court, and I go to court, and the judge goes, okay, Todd, here's the situation. If you have any firearms at your house and your passport, any deadly weapons, that's be turned into the Marshal Service before you end up going to court. But going to court could be 6 months, could be 9 months, how it could go. So after that period of time, let's say I don't have any guns, but you didn't know that I had already been indicted for a crime. I'm going like, hey, Dave, how about, I think I'm going to shoot next weekend. Well, Todd, I haven't seen you in several months. Where have you been, man? I haven't seen you like in a year. Well, I got rid of my guns, and I'm thinking about getting back in the game. Can I borrow one of your guns to go shoot a match with it? So if I go shoot a match with it, are you breaking the law by giving me a gun that I'm not allowed to have? This has happened before in the organization. Let's say that you have assault and battery charge against your wife. God forbid, I hope you don't have to beat up your wife for some reason or have some kind of abuse against it. Let's say that you are in a situation where you brandish a firearm and you get in trouble for that. I mean, think about this right here. So just yesterday, the NBA, because we want to be a professional organization, and we're professional people that want this organization to grow and have some type of standards. So we're almost 40,000 members now, and we don't have a code of conduct. So for me, it's kind of like, I was just laughing yesterday, and the wife and I were just chatting about one of the NBA players who just got caught brandishing a firearm. So the NBA actually, punished him a while back ago for having a firearm at a bar or something, some club he was at. And so he gets another one yesterday. It cost him $40 million. Now, wow. I'm not saying that none of us here, so he's kicked out of the NBA for a period of time, but in that period of time, his contract, he has to be able to play a certain amount of games in order to, to keep that $40 million. He lost $40 million. Now, let's just say that the organization, you lend me a gun, something happens with it, and I do something stupid with it, and I get caught, you're in trouble, and would the organization be in trouble? Yeah, and everybody's going to say, oh, Todd, that's just dumb, that's never going to happen. What about drug-related stuff? What about somebody who comes onto the range who has been doing some type of illegal drugs, let's say cocaine, okay? And somebody saw them do that on the range and saw them shooting. Let's say I have an alcohol problem and they come onto the range. You don't think this has happened over the years? I've seen it. I've seen this happen. Personally, I have gone up to individuals and go like, dude, if I ever see you doing a coke line again, I'm going to tell the world. Oh, Todd, it's all good, man. No problem. It's not. I'm going like, and I said this was back in the 90s. And I have guys show up on the range before. They're going like, who's been drinking? Somebody been drinking Bud Light around here or something? I mean, I was going like, I can smell alcohol. Who's been drinking? I had a late night last night. I was going like, but when you see that individual a couple of times and they go like, dude, you got an alcohol problem? Dude, you got a gun on. You don't need to be on the range. So now we have an accident. This guy ends up, getting arrested on the range for something. And we don't even have a code of conduct for that, and also goes for the board of directors, the top chain, from CEOs all the way down to the organization, they should be held responsible for things they do. So if somebody does something wrong within the organization, that code of conduct should be there just for them as well as the members. This should not be an issue. So we all just want to have fun. We all just want to shoot, but you always going to have situations that are going to pop up with individuals. And I got guys going like, Todd, that's stupid. I never, I'll quit the organization before I go along with that code of conduct. Okay, man, I'm sorry. I feel that this organization needs to have one. We have one for all the shooting sports. You can go to every shooting sport there is around the world. Go look at the Olympic shooting code of conduct. It's 22 pages long. Now theirs has doping in it,
Wow.
but 22 pages long. I've already actually have gotten it halfway written already. So if I win it, and if I don't, I know that Yiming, somebody popped up yesterday, and I saw my name was attached to it. It's going like, Yiming now wants to have a code of conduct. I was going like, well, this should have been done years ago, and I have said for years we should have done this. We could have fixed problems along the way, whether it be, to a point where, okay, you and I get a scuffle on the range. You and I have a discussion, okay? You get mad at me, I get mad at you because I made a football call on you or something. You're going like, oh, Todd, I didn't have a football. I said, okay, all right, we cool, Dave? I'm sorry, man. I just went by the rule book. The rule book says you got football. That's what I saw. 3 people behind me said they saw it. Okay, you're going like, don't get upset about it. It's just a game. It's a recreational game. We just here to have fun. Okay, there's no money on the line here. You're not going to win anything. I mean, if winning means that much to you by not having a code of conduct, I don't want to be around you. I just don't. I'm that guy who wants to. I want to be a professional at everything I do, and I think the organization needs to be able to understand how to deal with things instead of having maybe one person do that or 2 people make those decisions. One of them could be favoritism to, this one, John Doe number 1, he may do the exact same thing as John Doe number 2, but John Doe number 1 gets, oh, he's a great guy. He's an RO. He's a CRO. He's been around for a long time. We're going to let him slide. No, we can't let him slide. So the same, things that happen to John Doe number 2 should be equally, prosecuted, in my opinion, within whatever how we're going to charge that individual. Whether we put them out for 6 months or whether we put them, give them a warning or something, and we hopefully we don't have to use none of it. I mean, why use any of this? And so I think the big thing is that the online content of people that social media people want to go out there and voice their opinion. Cool. Hey, I am for the Second Amendment. I'm cool with you. You say whatever you want to say, as long as you don't hurt me personally, and I'm not going to hurt you personally. I think that we all just need to be able to understand that we love this game. We like shooting it. It's a lot of fun, and let's just go have fun. And we don't have to worry about a code of conduct. It's sitting in, in page, 279th in the book, or within our bylaws. And so what? What do we care about? I mean, just have a little fun. If you think that it's going to get you more sponsorship because you lost out on the match, my feeling is to you, go practice more, become a better shot.
Now, what is so going along with that same theme, what are your thoughts on what it would take to actually kick somebody out or suspend them? Like, what types of infractions are we looking at?
I don't think that, I mean, that's going to be something that needs to be set down. So, um, you know, people are going like, hey, Todd, you need to put Ben Stoker back in if you're president. But that cat's already out of the bag. I can't do anything about that. I mean, that's just, I mean, there have been people who have been suspended 20 years ago. I don't even know who they are. I mean, I never, I never even followed that case with Ben. I have no idea. I'm not a huge social media guy. I know Ben got a little cranky, and I mean, I like Ben. I have no problem with Ben. I mean, I've shot with him over years, and he has been nice to me, and I never had an issue with Ben at all. I mean, the guy's a phenomenal shot, great instructor, great, great teacher, and he stays busy at the game. But I have no ruling in that. So if everybody looks at the bylaws of what the president does, only thing I can do is break ties in certain things, and I set some agenda. But there's really not a whole lot that the president does. Everything's done by the board. So the board members are the key people that you need to influence in your area. So if you're in area 8 or area 6, and you need to talk to your board member and say, hey, this is what I like to see done. If you don't want a code of conduct, call them up and tell them. I mean, if they say, Todd, we don't want a code of conduct, okay, we'll trash it. We won't do it. I don't have a problem with that neither. I just think we need to have one as a major corporation to be able to understand that we are a nonprofit and we are a firearms recreational organization that's national. And we just need to be able to have something that that we have on paper. So if something comes up and we end up getting sued, at least we have a code of conduct to be able to do something with it. So I think as far as, how do you put them in the category? Okay, let's say pornography. Okay, is that the same seriousness as someone who's drinking alcohol on the range or doing drugs on the range? I mean, what's your opinion of that, Dave? What would you say there? Which one? I don't want someone grooming a 14-year-old girl on the range that's going on in a match that I may find out about. I don't want that. I don't want somebody selling drugs in a match to another competitor at a major championship. I mean, what are those rules? I mean, how do you determine what they're going to be? So I feel, and I've said this, it just needs to be set up that not the board actually, the board will end up making that decision finally. But I think what we need to have is a group that will, and I said four, and I say four shooters and 4 RMs. To evaluate and investigate that. So we do an independent investigation where we have an outside investigation group that that actually does that, and we pay them to do that. Probably be they're non-biased, or we could have it with the members. We have part members, and we have ROs, maybe someone who that can compile that information together and said, these are our findings, and we're going to represent this, put this in a big pile and send it to the board, and this is what we found. And the board then will determine what they would do with that. But we're a long ways from that. I mean, if you want to take what the Olympic Committee does and take the 22 pages and chop that in half and get started with it. And but yeah, I just think that I think we have to be able to do something in order to do that. And if you don't like it and you don't care about it, then I'm fine with it. Talk to your board members and tell them that you don't want it. If they don't want to vote on it, that's fine. I don't care. I'm just telling you, that was my feelings on it. I don't want to, get crazy on this thing, because it's not is the most important thing on my agenda. That's for sure. Agree?
Yeah, I do. And look, I'm good with whether you want to call it a code of conduct or what's an acceptable behavior policy or something. But a framework. I'm okay with that. I think the biggest issue people have is just concerned with the last year and a half or so. there's been a lot of tempers, and people say things online and they feel that people are being punished for saying things online. So I think that's just the biggest concern, is that will be used against people expressing their opinion. But point number one you've got is travel expenses. Now, is that are these in somewhat order, or are they just random as these are your 14 points? Like, what is the most pressing need? If you were voted in and tomorrow was your first day as USPSA president, to you, what is the first thing that needs to be addressed?
Well, I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning, put those down on paper. So I wrote them out. I mean, could I write another 10 of them? So my intentions across the board are to do one thing. I just want to make the game simpler, have more fun, and I want the people at the top to essentially treat our members as members. And I don't want to. I want the game to be like it was back in the 80s and 90s, when everybody was there to have fun. I mean, that's just always been my intentions to the organization, is to treat everybody exactly the same. You know, people come up to me all the time and go like, "Wow, Todd, you're a national champion." I went, "Nah, I happen to win a match, okay, and I happen to get a title. It doesn't mean anything to me. You know, to me, it's more the pleasure of getting out and fellowship and hanging out with my friends, making new friends, meeting new people, getting more involved in the shooting industry. That's all of my intentions has ever been, is to be able to have fun. Have I gotten, scuffles with people on the range over the years? Yeah, sure I have. Okay. And if there was probably a code of conduct along the way, I was going like, yeah, I probably should have had my hand slapped, and probably, could have been, taken out of the organization for a period of time. Who knows? But I've seen, 100 more of those over the years. So for me, we have, I haven't been able to see all of the financials. I have looked at financials plenty of times online, because it's a nonprofit. Everybody can look those up and they can see exactly what where money's going at. I think that we need to. My personal agenda are what I would always want to see the organization have, Dave, is one thing. I always felt that we need to have our own headquarters, a own history museum, our legacy museum of all the things that have been happening since the 70s, in which we have all these, documentations and, and equipment and stuff we've used along the way, and have our own facility, have our own range. So 20 years ago, I found a piece of property in Missouri. I think it was 425 acres or something, and it was beside a national park, and where it was set up, or beside a big state park, that we could have been, no one would have been near us. And I had a couple of us, we had said, hey, we should buy this property, and then as years go on, we should develop it and have our own national championship and have our own headquarters at one place. So that has always been a dream of mine, because we're big enough to be able to do that. I mean, we're scattered all over the country now. We're like an online organization. We don't have, a headquarters per se anymore. Headquarters is wherever Zoom is. And so, I mean, you look at Sporting Clays, and you look at other, or shooting organizations, they have their own headquarters, and you can go and shoot there. You can go, they have training classes, they have RO classes, they have new classes for juniors. I mean, that's been my goal for that over the years. So if we penny pinch, we start watching our money. And of course, I know what is happening in the past, and I know what's going on now with financials. And, and I look at some things that's going like, wow, they spent a lot of money there. Was that really necessary to do that? So my whole thing is that why don't we get back to budgeting and understanding how a corporation should run? And that's where I come into play. And I have told the board that I feel that we need a CEO to run this organization. We don't need a president. We need a CEO to run it. A CEO will then, in turn, look at all the financials, see where everything's going, bring recommendations back to the board. The board then will, in turn, take those recommendations and decide how they're going to vote on it. So it's not Todd Jarrett. I'm not a CEO of a nonprofit, but I know a lot of damn good CEOs of nonprofits that I've been talking with for the last several weeks, and I have done a lot of work in that area, and I've learned a lot. And so it's like they're going like, "You got more than 20,000 members?" I'm like, "Yeah, we got more than 20,000." But you don't have a CEO? I said, "No, we don't have a CEO." How stupid is that? So we have run this thing like a good old boy network for forever. And my
Yeah.
personal feelings is you need a CEO. I would actually, if they run a CEO, don't pay me. Now we dropped the pay from Mike Foley from $130,000 to what the next president's going to get at 50,000. That's what they voted in last minutes. Okay,
Right.
so $50,000. Don't get me wrong, that's not a lot of money to me. Uncle Joe's going to take 25, 30, 40% of that, and so I don't. That's not a lot of money for me. I'm not doing this for the money. If I could get the board to agree to hire a CEO, I know some good people out there who have been in the firearms industry, who have now run corporations because of my years of being in the business. We should approach them and we should say, we need a CEO. And the only thing we need is for a president is a figurehead. We need a president that can walk into a company, walk into Springfield or walk into SIG or walk into these other companies and say, hey, we want to do business with you, and we want you to be able to, provide a service for us, for our members, whether it be a new gun, new holster, new guns, new belts, holsters, ammunition, whatever. But that person needs to be that person. We need, like they do at the NRA, Wayne LaPierre, whether you like him or not, Wayne has done a disservice to the NRA over the years, robbing the organization of money, and I have a pain, okay, for that, and I am an NRA member and have been for decades, and so for me personally, I don't want to see the organization go that way. I want to see somebody who's responsible at the top to be able to understand how a nonprofit should work, how it operate, and should then go in front of the board. The board will make those decisions and go off the recommendations of the CEO. After that's done, the following year, where can we save money at? So if we're losing $400,000+ a year at the national championship, and you've been doing that for decades, why would you continue to lose that kind of money? So one of my key points down there is to turn all the area championships in conjunction with the area championship with the national championship. So, and I'm doing it for one reason. I want to be able to understand how we can bank more money, put a fair amount of money away. So potentially, if the board says, "Hey, Todd, I think your idea of a range and headquarters and a history and legacy museum, that's valid," and we would love to be able to hear that. What do you have on paper? I'm working on it. So I think that I've talked to a couple of the board members, and they were going like, "I think that's a good idea," but they're going like, "Oh, we can't do that because the charter says we can't do it." And I've had several members of the board tell me, "Todd, that's not going to happen because we can't change the charter." Yes, we can. I have been on the phone and talked to people who run nonprofits. I've talked to accounting firms who do nothing but nonprofits. Going like, "Of course you can change the charter. You can do anything you want to do." And they go like, "If you don't change the charter, guess what? Why don't we get an LLC?" So you can run an LLC, do a backdoor, and now the LLC then actually reimburses the nonprofit and goes back and forth in that to be able to have a facility, a building, land, whatever you want, assets. All those things can happen whether we change the charter or we do an LLC. That's fact. And I'm sure some of the members out there who are smart businessmen, they're going like, "Yeah, Todd knows exactly what he's talking about." But no one talks about it. And I have been saying this for 20 years that you guys, this is not a good old boys club. We need to run this as a professional organization. And that is my only, intent is to make the organization better and get more people involved in shooting.
Yeah. I think I've said it on the podcast, but I mean, I've talked to a lot of people, so I don't know. But I'm a member of the Scout Sniper Association, and It was being run by a bunch of either active Marines or former Marines, and nobody really knew the law of all of the shoot, I can't even think of the word right now. But anyway, they ended up doing exactly what you said. They hired a CEO for a nonprofit CEO who understood one, the laws and the rules of nonprofits, and got everything on track, and then we could take the organization back over. But I think the idea of having a CEO is the way to go. I completely agree.
So that I just want to be able to get, I want to be able to get in the back in the black, and be able to, you know, now if the board has no interest in doing that with the current board, so we got a couple of new people coming on the board. Um, Ted Murphy, who is a phenomenal financial guy. Ted is a financial whiz, and my hat goes off to him. And people may or may not like him, but if you know what Ted's doing behind the scenes financially, and looking at and going over and making sure that understanding how an audit should work. We're doing a true audit this year on the organization, which it should be. We should have an audit done every single year. I mean, that's just a given in a nonprofit. Okay, you find an accounting firm, you send them all the information. We want to see it, so when it's posted, yeah, we get to see that. Okay, but we don't do an audit on the organization every year. It gets done. I mean, sometimes several years goes by and they don't do an audit on it. So if I was in charge and I was a CEO, it's going like, we're doing a damn audit every year, and that's just it. That's how it's going to work. So my whole thing is that we're losing all this money at the national championship. I think they lost over $400,000 last year running the national championship. So I was going like, okay, why don't we take a look at why don't we look at something completely fresh? Now, in the beginning, they told me, "Oh, Todd, that's never going to happen. Now, how can that? How can that? You run a national championship within the area within the area match?" I went, "Okay, you know, I don't know all the answers, but what I do know is that it can happen." So think about it. Let's say that we have 8 divisions. I think we need to get rid of limited 10. In my opinion, a limited 10 is it's just a dying breed. There's only 12 people in the entire nation that shoot it, maybe 14. And I'm probably going to aggravate those 14 or 18 people that shoot limited 10 nationwide. Even the guys in California that, they're only allowed to have 10 round magazines, but it's mysterious that every single body that I watch on film has a 30 round mag in their gun. So are they breaking the law? I think, that's something that they need to understand, that, breaking the law in your own state, that's a state thing, not a federal thing. So for us, I say we do all 8 national championships under area matches. We bring in a skeleton crew, and that skeleton crew from headquarters would be to help out in something that may need for practice score. We may need somebody, additional CROs, because all your REMs, all your CROs, all your ROs who are volunteers who love to put on these matches, they're there to help it out because they love the game. I can't tell you how many times over the years that I go help out in matches over the years. Area 8 back in the day. State championships, section matches over the years back in the 80s and 90s. We were there building props, a month ahead of time. So if we take an area championship, so quick and nasty on it is that, let's say we say area 8, or we're in area 8, you and I are. And we say Area 8's coming up, and this year we're going to have the Area 8 championship and coincide with the limited nationals. So typically they get about 450 as an average shooters per area match. Area 6 was just last weekend. They were a little light at 401. They had some issues down there. And they didn't fill the match like they wanted to. Area 8 filled up in a blink of an eye because it's just a different style of match than it is at Area 6, which is nationwide. Every area championships has its own style. So if you go shoot the national championship now, you know what the style is going to be. It's going to be bland. It's exactly the same thing every single year. I like to have a little different style. I I like what Area 2 does. I like what Area 3 does. I like Area 4. I like Area 8. All these area championships, which I'm shooting Area 4 here next month, and Area 1 this year that I'm going out to. I haven't shot Area 1 in a long time. But they're going to have a different style because, they follow under the same rules. All those things already been approved by Troy. Okay, NROI has already approved the stages. So when they get there, say Troy shows up at the area match, okay, and he shows up and says, okay, well, you guys didn't think about this. This could be a problem for getting thrown out because I've been doing it for a long time. You already have tons of volunteers. You got help there that are going to set the stages up. And other than, having two area matches on the same weekend, that is the only issue that I see at this point as far as having a national championship fall on the same weekend, two in the same weekend, which we don't want to have that happen. So you could probably shoot, if you wanted to, you could shoot 8 nationals if you wanted. So they go, well, Todd, how would you actually do that? Well, we're going to have a ranking system. We will have a ranking system for 60 people to automatically get their first slot to go to the match. The first 60 people are taken away off that board. So now you only have 390 people that can shoot the match. Now, that area match they go like, hey, we want to extend an extra day. We want to start on Wednesday instead of starting on Thursday because we got plenty of help. We got plenty of guys that want to do it. And here we go. Now you can still shoot your area championship, and we're going to hold the limited nationals at the Area 8 championship. Now you can shoot open, PCC, single stack, revolver, whatever you want, and you can still be the area champion for that. But the national championship will be crowned for limited at that match.
Okay.
So what I'll do is we take from years past, so from GM all the way to down to D class. So depending on where you rank at in the country, whether we do it through practice score, we figured out, and which, these are things that need to be worked out. Is it going to happen next year? Is it ever going to happen? It may not never happen. But now we're going to bring in 5 or 6 people from headquarters to help run that area championship instead of 60 or 70. We spent $30,000 in meals at the last nationals. $30,000 in meals. You got to feed your people. I get that. Okay. But these area championships, they seem to do a better job at how they manage hotels, everything along the way, people that are going to come and work on it. I mean, look at some of the matches. I mean, go down, we had, Area 6, probably had, 30 or 40 people that could sleep in their own bed at night because they volunteered, to work the match. Now, we got CROs and REMs all across the country. They may live 20 minutes away from the actual, from the match, in Area 8. So we don't have to pay them, okay? We may give them, a food allowance or maybe gas allowance, but we don't have to put them on an airplane and let them fly, 300 miles or let them drive 2.5 days and get all that mileage back and forth, because mileage adds up. There is a lot of money, for staffing to drive, and 90% of them drive because, a lot of them are older and they're going like, I don't want to deal with the airplane. I want to bring my guns in my car. Okay. So it's probably cheaper to fly them than it is to drive them, and even give them a car in some cases, because some of these expenses that I've seen in the past, people spending $800,000-900,000 on an airline flight, okay, to come down. And it's going like, wow, could you have maybe done a better job, maybe 4 or 5 months in advance, maybe gotten a better price on an airline ticket? I mean, who is there going to, take a look at things like that? So I'm just bitching is all I'm doing, to tell you the truth.
Well,
because I know what goes on behind the scenes.
Right. Well, what do you do with something, is an interesting concept, but what do you do with something like Carry Optics Nationals at an area match, because it is so popular, and that thing, right now, this is the second time they sent out the wait list, and I was 160 the first time. Now I'm 93. So, and the match is still full. So how do you do like a Carry Optics where you're, or any nationals too as well, but particular to Carry Optics where it's so popular? And 2, I feel like there's only a few ranges that could handle a national match size event? Because are we talking 21 stages?
Well, I mean, does it have to be 21? Can it be 18 quality stages? It don't have to be 21. I mean, I've shot stages, in nationals over the years, and other major matches only have, you know, 12, 15, 18 stages, and they were quality stages. Why do you have to have 20, 21, 24 stages? So, so for me, you just answered your own question. You're going like, Todd, I'm on the waiting list. Okay, well, that would be no different than if you were to shoot an area match. There are area people, area matches that are on it. So if I was going to hold an area championship and hold the Optics Nationals right today, and it was up to me to be able to put where I was going to put it, it would go at Rio Salada. They have the facility, they have the people. That is the biggest match. Now you can go and shoot open. You can shoot any other division that you want, but you could end up with 450 people that want to shoot the match in carry optics, but they're on the waiting list. I think that we should essentially have a waiting period for other people to get into the match, which is things that they're logistics that you have to work out across the board. But if you don't get to shoot the carry optics match because you're on the waiting list, I mean, I know people on the waiting list that can't get in. But what is the national championship for? National championship is to crown the best of the best. Okay.
Correct.
So who should go there first? Okay. So a guy who is, no offense to a guy who's a brand new member. So I mean, I've got guys that I've known over the years going like, hey, how long you been shooting? Oh, it's my first year. I think I'm gonna go to national championship. But have you ever shot a level 2 match? Well, no, I want to go to nationals and shoot it. I was going like, dude, you probably need to go shoot a level 2, maybe a level 3 match before you go to the national championship, because you need to get some experience before you go there. And then you're taking away a slot potentially for an individual like yourself, Dave, who's on the waiting list. You might have 40 people in front of you that might be the first year going to the Carry Optics Nationals. Is that fair? In my opinion, I'm not sure if that's fair or not. I don't know what fair is, in the sense where it's a hard thing to do. But this is something we could experiment with. You could definitely run trial runs with this. We could do the single stack nationals. We could do production, which is really production nationals is really, there's not a lot of people signed up for it. It's the limited Iron Sight Nationals is not even full. I mean, it's not even halfway full. I mean, I looked online the other day on on Practice Score, and the wife and I were looking at it. She's going like, look at this. I went, I'm scanning through there. I was going like, this match is not even full. This is sad that no one wants to shoot iron sights. So now we're going to go to a match. Let's say we don't fill that match this year. We could lose $150,000, $200,000 by just expenses going to that match. Because if we don't fill it, if we don't get 450, we're not going to fill that match. We're going to lose money on it. So this is a prime example. We could take all 4 divisions right off the bat and shove them in an area match and have a national championship within an area match, because that flavor may not be conducive for iron sights. It might be a tougher match. Just say Area 8's always a tough match. What they're doing up in Ailani, I mean, those guys up there, Anthony, holy crap, that guy puts on a good match up there, and it's hard as hell. And I shot it last year, and I went up and shot a local match up there with them on the last couple of months, and they put on 10 stages every month. What a great club, and those guys do a phenomenal job. And but I think that's but it's something that that we need to look at. And am I saying that it logistically and money wise it may not operate, may not work, but it's something we should take a look at, and that's my feeling.
Oh, Todd, what do you think about? Okay, well, let's take Iron Sights Nationals. It's there to crown the Iron Sight National champions, the 4 of them. But what about, okay, we're 60 days out. It's only half full. Why not then just open it up for, all right, I'll use myself an example. I couldn't get into Carry Optics Nationals. Plus, I just had meniscus repair on my knee. So even if I got in at this point, I don't know that I would shoot Carry. I would probably just decline my slot because I don't want to put that stress on my knee at this moment.
Right.
But 3 months from now, I'm like, man, I really wish I could have shot a national championship. So you open up Iron Sight Nationals for other shooters. Now I can go shoot a 3-day match with my Carry Optics gun, help fill the match so it doesn't lose any money, and it helps with titling those champions. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, the organization, I mean, if they fill the match, you're still going to lose money. I mean, even if it's half full or full, they lose money at every national championship that they hold. So it doesn't matter if they fill the match halfway or not. They're just going to, you know, it's all about expenses. The expenses
Right.
for the match. You know, in their case, they're actually going to. I mean, they're going to really suffer. So I don't really disagree with your sentiment there of being able to fill the rest of the match and you know, you guys come and shoot open, shoot limited, shoot whatever you want to shoot. You know, Carry Optics gun. Actually, it's a great idea if you just want to come and shoot it. If it was up to me, I would cut the match, you know, from a, you know, essentially a 4-day match. I would cut it to a 2-day match. So I'm cutting half the expenses out. So now let's say we only get 200 shooters come to it. I would say there's no reason to have a 3-day match. We're going to have a 2-day match. Okay. And we're going to crown that individual in all those categories with it, but we're not going to have 24 stages. We're going to have 16 stages. Okay. And we're going to give you 16 quality stages. So it doesn't matter if we shoot one stage, okay, and Niels Jonas wins the limited national off of one stage, or if he does it off of 20, he's still a national champion. It doesn't matter. So you know, my whole feelings is save on expenses, cut back on the match. There's no reason at all to run this as a 4-day match. So now you cut back on stage designs, you cut back on everything, and you save money within the organization. So that's, you know, that's just pure, you know, that's just pure accounting is all that is.
Okay.
Agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I mean, I feel like some of those, you know, like Iron Sights Nationals, like you said. I mean, how many? I don't know. I think some people sign up for some of the divisions just to be able to shoot a less competitive match, like limited 10. I mean, how many? If you have Iron Sight Nationals, limited and production will be your two big ones. Revolver will be smaller. Single stack will be above that. But like your limited 10, I feel like the only people who would compete in limited 10 would be people just like, okay, I'm not going to win the others. I have a better shot here, so I'll shoot that one.
Of course, yeah, they're sort of trying to, they beat 3 people. I mean, so what we have at the Area 6. So I think I factored it out. I think there was only I think it was less than 14% of the people that shot Area 6 last weekend shot an iron sight gun. It was 86 or 87% of the people shot some type of optic on top of their gun. That's sad. That's very sad. I mean, so
I've been looking at the numbers, and Carry Optics is consistently 45 to 47%, with open being about 22%. So yeah, that already right there puts you at 70% just between Carry Optics and open.
Yeah, so I think they had, I think it was 48% of the match last weekend was Carry Optics. If I remember correctly, I kind of when they post them, I kind of scanned through it and wrote down a few things. So, but yeah, I think that's something that that we need to, you know, understand where the game is going at. You know, whether we have one big national championship. You know, I know they've done that, you know, in a week and done everything at one time. If you're going to make money at it, you know, and be able to be in the black across the board instead of losing money, I mean, you're going to have, you know, 700 competitors, in which, you know, we can't hold a match in this country. There's only a few places that can hold that. So think about it. U.S. Nationals holds 450 competitors. Every single area match typically can shoot around 450 competitors. So essentially, now we have twice as many people shooting the national championship, okay? And that those individuals get a chance, if they want to shoot every single area championship within that match is now the national championship. So essentially, JJ Bakaza, he could win every single national. I mean, what would that be, to his career? That would be amazing. So it's
Right.
like those are the things that, remember, this organization, there's a lot of people within this organization that rely on USPSA to stay alive and be strong and sovereign. A lot of people stay in business because of this organization. This is why we need to be able to understand how to run this organization correctly as a national organization. So that's my overall take, and that's my biggest gripe that I have, for the organization.
And there's two more things I wanted to talk about that I found interesting that you have. Um, you said we should consider starting an industry advisory board as well
Yeah,
as a shooters advisory board. So how do you envision that?
I see that as any advisory board for any corporation. That's just typical. You will bring advisories in, bring them in once a year. We have a small match or something. We bring all the sponsors that deal with us in front site, all of our sponsors. We bring those people in. They have great ideas to be able to, propel maybe membership, maybe propel their business, and how we can push their business in a more profitable way. How you were building relationships is what that is. So you're not building relationships over emails. I need to be I need to be
Right.
sitting in there with you. Okay.
Yeah.
I have been in business. I have three businesses myself currently right now that I run myself. I got an HVAC company. I got my own shooting company, and I got a real estate company that I have. So all of those keeps me busy, but I'm building relationships with local businessmen all the time. And so the same thing, if we were to build a range, or we want to be able to incorporate those local, businesses in that local area, whether it be law enforcement, whether it be politicians in the area, we need to be able to have those people that understand and be able to go forward and have that conversation. And that's how relationships are done, and that's how business is done in America. And that's where I think that we should do that. As far as the shooter, um, you know, part of that, I think that we should be listening to um, an advisory board for the top guys. Okay, what do you guys like to see? What would you like to see different? I'm not saying every single top guy. I'm not talking about every single professional shooter we have. But we need people who have influence within their companies in their industries that they're working with. It's going like, what would you like to see? What problems that you're seeing? And just get them. That's a once a year thing. We all sit around and have a conference on it. It's pretty simple. Yeah, it might cost a few dollars, and we may spend $4,000 or $5,000 for that, to sit around. But what else can we gain from that as a business? Okay, to be able to grow the organization, and that's my number one thing here is strictly growth. Like I want to do a junior nationals. I have said for years, after Mike Voigt passed away, I was going like, I mentioned to Mike, I went, why don't we have a junior nationals, man? Just strictly a junior nationals. So I made a few phone calls, and I got a range and a sponsor that will commit to it right off the bat, right now. Todd, you just tell us when you want to do it, and is set it up, and we will have. I said strictly going to be nothing but juniors. So I like to change the junior category, the age point of that from essentially probably 11 to 14 and 15 to 18. If I
Mm.
was, I'm just throwing this out here, but there would be two different categories, sub junior or junior junior and a junior class for that, and have a national championship strictly for them, but bring in some of the top guys to be able to do classes with them, bring their parents in. Maybe that would be an
Coach them up.
open day that we can bring in new people to understand this is our junior championship, and we want, the locals to come in there. We want people to come in, want their parents. We want, other siblings to be able to come in and watch their kids and their brothers and sisters shoot, and be able to give an award for that. I definitely want to explore that, and if it makes business sense, then I want to do it. Also, I would love to be able to bring back the Matt Rising reward, and for military. I want to do a military law enforcement shoot is what I would like to do. I would love to see that done. Strictly only military and law enforcement. So when those individuals sign up for the match, they automatically become a member of USPSA. So we have to fork out $200. I mean 200 members. But we incorporate that into the price of running the match. So maybe we get a new 100 new members out of that the following year. But it's strictly for law enforcement and military, because law enforcement does not like to shoot with civilians. Now the military guys, which I'm on the mecca of it in my area, so I shoot with a lot of military guys, whether it be out of Virginia Beach area or out of Fort Bragg area, amongst other areas. So I would definitely want to put on a match there. I've spoken to several key people that are in the military. They're going like, Todd, you'd fill it in a couple hours. And I was kind of, wow, that's entertaining. So that's something that I think that we should explore, and be able to have maybe a separate organization in there within the organization. Who knows?
Yeah, it would be interesting if we could put something together from an organizational standpoint. Like Camp Lejeune houses, I want to say it's 60,000 Marines.
Yep.
So it'd be interesting, to be able to travel to, have an East Coast side where you can do something at Lejeune for those guys, and then another one at Pendleton, because there's another 60,000 on the West Coast. And when I was in the Marines, it was all NRA bullseye style qualification stuff, and I know it's changing, and that would just kind of help the two organizations, one with their mission and the other with competition. So it'd be very interesting. But you hit on the other point, was the junior nationals, which I find very interesting.
So I think, for me personally, that's something that I think we should do. And actually, I messaged Maggie Reese Voigt the other day, and I said, Maggie, I want you to be involved in this, because Mike was big with juniors, and so I think I really want to call this the Michael Voigt inaugural Junior National Championship, and I want Mike's Voigt name attached to that, because Mike had done so much for juniors in the past, and that was a passion for him. So I love to be able to see that happen. If it makes good business sense, then we should consider it. But it's something I think that we should essentially do.
Okay. The last thing I wanted to ask you about, which I found also interesting, was point number 13. You said, should we run our own USPSA World Championship? So would that be inviting IPSC shooters from around the world to come, and then whoever wins? Because like in years past, when Eric Graffel has won nationals, he couldn't be the national champion because he's not a USPSA member per se.
Sure.
But this would be something that would, if Eric won open, then he is the USPSA World Champion type of a thing.
Not really. This is the
okay.
So if I wanted to, and I said that we should have done this years ago. I think that, and I've always said that we want to have our matches and our teams ready to go a year out. So I would hold the USPSA World Championship a year out from the World Shoot. So it would happen every 3 years. So what I want to do is I want to be able to get our teams, get the best shooters ready to go. But I would like to be able to change in how the point system works. I still say if we have a 4-man team for and ladies team and juniors team that goes to the World Shoot every single year. And there are times where I think that our alternates or some folks on the team may not be the strongest, to be able to make that team. And we have lost out on several of the teams at the World Shoot over the years. I feel that we need to be able to have, you can almost pick the top 3 in almost every division, but the 4th one should be picked by the president. And I've said that to John Amadon, who was the president or an NROI guy years ago who actually did that. And John goes, yeah, that'll be a lot of work and this and that. I was going, no. So a year out, so when the Nationals is over with, just think about this. So 3 or 4 years ago, no one knew who what Christian Saylor really was. I mean, we knew he was an upcomer, he was good and everything. But, who would know that he would be a world champion in this very short period of time? So if I see people coming along, and I follow everybody nationwide, I am always watching new shooters, people who are, up and comers, people at the top of the game, people who are winning, so you want to be able to say to that individual, it's kind of like you want to watch them. So what they've done, let's say we're 3 years out from the first Nationals now, our world championship. That the guy who beat Chris Tilley last weekend, who is this guy? Okay, well that guy may be the national champion in 3 years, but he may not gain enough points. He may say he has gun problems next year. Let's say the following year he gets sick and can't go to the match, but he wins the national championship the year before, or wins that match that same year. I mean, okay, you didn't accumulate enough points, but guy, you're the hot guy in the circuit right now. I'm going to hand pick you to be on the team. So I want to pick the best 4, individuals, whether it be juniors, ladies, whatever division, men's, across the board, because we want to go to the World Shoot and have the best people representing us to get on the podium. That's all I always wanted to do over the years. I mean, I have a lot of friends of mine that have been on the teams over the years that should never have been there. And, we didn't win the teams. We were 5th or 6th or 4th or something, never make the podium. The whole thing about it is that we want to send the best of the best is what we want to do. And the only thing I'm saying is, the only thing I would change is that let the alternate be picked by the president. That's all I ask.
Kind of sounds like Ryder Cup, where in golf, where the team captain, okay, yeah, he gets to select somebody. Yep. All right, makes perfect sense now.
Yeah, sure enough. So I mean, we follow sports all the time. So while we're talking, there's another controversial one that I've had ROs sending me messages like, "I'll never work, Todd. We can't use a video for for arbitration." Yeah, we can. Yeah, sure we can. Okay. We live in a world of high tech equipment, and they're going like, well, how's a guy going to download his camera off of his GoPro and put him in? I'm going like, well, you know what? I'm sure that some techie guy out there will eventually figure out how to download in a split second into his phone and be able to show you if that guy had a foot fault, if that guy actually shot over the berm, if that individual, broke the 180. So if I have a camera going, and because I've been a recipient of this a few years ago, of getting DQ from somebody who was standing 20 yards away underneath a tent, and I have an RO that's standing right over top of me, telling me that I did not break the 180, along with another individual who is on the other side of me that says, who was an RO on the stage, Todd, you didn't break the 180. But they were superseded by the CRO. So I was going like, but I have it on film. And they're going like, of course, I made a comment. I was going like, I have it on film. I didn't break the 180. I didn't even get close to it. Okay. That's somebody make an arbitrary, judgment of what they think they saw in a split second. This game is super fast anymore. It's extremely, footwork is always going to be something that people get foot faults for that they didn't. It's happened to me multiple times, and I can show the RO. I'm going like, dude, look at here. Now, has there been a precedent in the past, okay, of using video for arbitration? Yes, it happened to me, and I actually used it at Area 5 about 3 years ago with the match director. Who's like, Todd, well, it's not in the rule book, we're not allowed to do this. I was going like, so the RO punched in my score, instead of putting a 12:39 run, he put me down as a 22:39 run. But what happened was, as soon as I shot that stage, they had me to move automatically to another stage, and I didn't even get to see the actual the pad in order to approve that. So no, you got to go right now. You got to go right behind. So the next day I came back and I noticed that my score that my wife had actually beat me. And I was going like, yo, Kerry, you're good. You didn't beat me by 4 seconds on the stage. Okay. So we went back and we actually had it on video. Okay. And on video, so I went back to the match director. I went to the match director and I showed him, I said, this is wrong. It's not correct and it needs to be corrected. And I'm just telling you that, I just found it out when the scores popped out on practice score, later that night, which was like at 9 o'clock at night. They had some issues and they didn't get it uploaded until then. So I went to the match director, and match director goes, yeah, Todd. He goes, wow. He goes, we're not supposed to do this, but I want to show it to an arbitration committee. And they did. And the arbitration committee agreed with me. We went back, talked to the ROs, the CROs, and what they do, they went, yeah, that's probably not right. Todd didn't do it in 22 seconds. He did it in 12 seconds. And so then that happened. So, and they actually let me reshoot the stage and I beat my wife. So it doesn't matter.
Now, well, and a few years ago at Area 8, I don't remember if it was Carry Optics or production or what, but Nils won Area 8. But people were showing that they made an error entering in the times, and it should have, I don't remember if it was Jacob who should have won or Mason should have won Area 8 in that same division. Yep. And it was like a week later, Nils was like, hey, yeah, it's been shown that the other person should have won. So hats off to that person. But so I agree that type of thing, there are uses for video.
Yeah, and I think, if let's say that you have a problem on the stage and you get DQ'd and I'm filming you, but I have somebody else arbitrarily off to the side filming you, and they're going like, oh yeah, he didn't break the 180, or but the vague area that we have to look at is that you get DQ'd, okay, and I'm a competitor of you, so I'm filming you because I want to see what you're doing on the stage, and I realized that you got called for a 180 call, but I got a camera just sitting over here to go like, yeah, Dave didn't break the 180, but I'm not going to show him my camera. Right. I'm not going to show him that because I want you kicked out because I want to beat you for the match. So as far as competitiveness goes, in the gaming side of that, so we have problems that we need to rectify there. But there are reasons that I have seen hundreds of times where people have on video, Todd, I didn't do this. I went, yeah, you're exactly right. But there's nothing in the rule book that says we can use that for arbitration. You are correct. I'm sorry that you spent $6,000 of your money, okay, preparing for this match and then coming out to shoot this match and flying and all the expenses to get DQ'd on your second stage. I'm sorry about that. And you have video proof that you did not DQ, okay? If it's conclusive, it's no different than, calling, out on first base in the MLB game. Why do we go back and review that now? Because ROs make mistakes. Range officers make mistakes. Referees make mistakes all the time. So we review them, okay? And we should give that individual the benefit of the doubt. So if I have a camera on the stage and I see it, okay, I would recommend that everybody from here on out, if you get a bad call, post it online somewhere, show it out there. So the more we have, the more that we can actually, evaluate these things and determine as an RO or CRO, an RM, that they can go like, yeah, that's a good call right there, and that guy should not have been DQ'd, or he should not got a foot fault, or he reloaded and he shot into more than 9 feet away because we weren't sure of the distance on the berm. I mean, he was standing right behind this part right here. And if you can conclusively see that that guy is, is not at fault, then why shouldn't we have that? I mean, that's my opinion. And I think that's something that I think all the members, me as a member, who have seen it happen to myself and many other people over the years, I think we should put that in play and figure out how to do it correctly.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I listen to a lot of different podcasts to learn, just things in general, but I always hear how powerful these cell phones are, and everybody's got them on the stage, and people are recording stuff, and the quality of those are amazing. So I don't understand why we're not using that technology to our benefit. So
Well, I know that the NROI guys, they do not want to see it. They don't want to have it. Um, but and it is one of the key points that I'm going to push, and I'm going to push. If it doesn't happen this year, and it happens next year, it's not going to happen the following year. I mean, I'm going to push for it. So, I think that's something that we need to be able to have. It's not going to work in your benefit every single time. I,
nope.
I can see that. And you're going to have guys who going like, I was at 179 and you told me, you know, there's where stage design is actually more important than anything. And every time I go to a match, I'm going like, I will tell friends of mine to go in there. I will walk up to the squad, even though that squad may be, competitors that I'm competing against. I was going like, I still don't want anybody and anybody to get DQ'd for a 180 violation. So my whole thing is going like, hey guys, you better watch out. This is a 180 violation right here. Watch your muzzle here. And I will say that in all of my local matches I go to. I always, emphasize that to everybody in my squad. Going like, guys, be careful here. We're practicing local matches to go to bigger matches. So these are things you need to look out for. And you got some ROs that, they are, they get their jollies off on DQing people. That's just the fact. I mean, I've had tons of messages sent to me after this, and I've had ROs going like telling me, "Yeah, Todd, I've been ROing for a long time, and I have been with ROs that they want to get some type of infraction on the shooter. That's their goal. Is that to all of them? Absolutely not. We have some phenomenal ROs that I have been, you know, they've told me to make ready for 35 years, 40 years, some of them, and that's been around the game. So I have a lot of respect for the RO staff that we have. Do we got some bad apples? Like we got bad members? Yeah, we got them. That's just we need to weed them out, or we need to educate them because we're here to assist the shooter through the stage in the safest manner as possible. Okay, with as much professionalism as possible. And that's the way I want to see this organization run. We are a professional organization, and I cannot say that anymore, okay, than where we are right now. This is where I want to go at. This is where we need to be at.
It sounds like a good idea to me.
Here's another one. Yeah,
The rule book. There you go.
I'll print out. So it's 122 pages long. 122 pages long. I got to take an RO class in next month. So I printed out so I can start reviewing it, looking over it. So I've been RO. I was an RO back in the 80s, but I never re-upped my RO status over the years because I RO all the time. The people that know me and local clubs, I RO all the time.
You've RO'd me.
I'm always trying to assist people through, new shooters through, people that I know might be a little excited, and they're, going like, hey, you just need to slow down, have a little fun. We're just here for fun. It's going to be another match next month, and so on and so on. But I want to get people safely through the stage. So I want you to have a good time. I want you to be fun. I got people that have never met me before, but they may know who I am and go like, oh my God, Todd Jarrett's RO me on the stage. I better not do anything stupid. They're like, man, just have a good time. I said, just be safe and don't point a loaded gun at me and I won't point one back. I mean, that's just pretty much the way I am, But I do this rule book. This one thing I want to do. I want to put a advisory group together of shooters who are very talented in writing and people who I've known for many, many years, and I want to have a advisory board to go through the rule book, and I want to simplify some things in it. And I also want, but those shooters will be also, I want to have an REM a group with that. So if I do 4 or 5 shooters and I do 4 or 5 REMs, what can we do to simplify the book? The book, when I first started, was only like 12 or 13 pages, maybe 20 pages at the most. Okay. And we got through the 80s of having a lot of fun. The book got a little bit bigger in the 90s. There are things that we need to be able to have in the book, okay, over the years? Absolutely. And there are some great things in here we have learned, through the organization that we need to have a rule for that. But some of these rules, they just go on and on and on. And so I had an RO tell me, well, Todd, don't you realize that the book is a part of gaming? I was going like, yeah, I do know that. I do know it's a part of gaming, but that rule book should not be a part of gaming when that buzzer goes off and I pull the trigger and I shoot the first target with 2 A's on it. That book does one thing and one thing only, okay? I need to have a lawyer on retainer, okay, when I go to the national championship to be able to understand what was on page 49 contradicts page 59, which is 105. We'll go back to page 6. Okay, so you need to be someone who has been doing the game for decades to understand the rule book. So you always, have a chance to any arbitration of winning that arbitration if you know that rule book inside and out. And you go find an RO that's been doing it for years, that's friendly, or a buddy of yours, going like, Todd, you need to go look at 29.-6.29.14, and then coincide with that with page 73 with 79.1 point dash, and you'll get off. I'm going like, oh, okay, yeah, all right, let me go get my lawyer. But we need a simplification of the rule book, in my opinion. And now, can we simplify it and knock out 20% of it? Can we have I think every single stage that's designed, if the description on the stage is written correctly, you don't really need a rule book. You need to understand the ramifications of being disqualified for unsafe gun handling, okay, and understand how the scoring is done, which we all know what an A, a B, an A, C, and a D looks like these days, okay? We know what a hit on a steal is. We have rules for scoring purposes, and almost everyone knows that. But it's all the hidden stuff in between that I think that we could actually sit down and clarify and make it a little simpler for people that are going through the process of becoming an RO in the future. Because I got people who are ROs going like, I don't want to have to go through that RO. That's the craziest book I've ever seen, Todd. Like I got a friend of mine called me up the other day. He had his CRO, his membership or for him to re-up his CRO status. So he calls me up. He goes, have you read the book lately? I went, yeah, I'm looking through it now. He goes, oh my God, I cannot believe all these stupid rules they're putting in. This is CRO. The guy's been around for decades. So he's just laughing about it. So he calls me up and go like, God, that would be a great tool if you could actually get that rule book a little bit more simplified. So who knows? I'm sure Troy and them would go like, that ain't never going to happen. And I'm sure some CROs out there are going like, that's never going to happen. But I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who are going like, yes, it would be easier to simplify it, understand the rules, trying to make a call on the range instead of trying to get that I got you moment on the range. So that's what I'm going to eliminate.
Okay. Yeah, there are a lot of rules, and reading through it takes quite a while.
Yeah, it's like reading the LSAT, trying to become an attorney.
Right.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's just, it's kind of bizarre. So how are we doing on time?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Well, look, I've got about 15 more minutes. I hope this is not boring to your.
No, this is awesome. I'm trying to. Now you had something. Your point number 11. I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to add a little commentary to it. If the space allows, we should invite every sponsor to show up and allow everyone to view new products at the major matches. This should be a benefit to them for being a major sponsor. The only additional cost for them is the cost of their own tent and tables. They spend money in advertising online and in front site, meaning the USPSA magazine. Now, I've made mention that I think it would be interesting. Like, I'll use Carry Optics Nationals because it's so popular. You could even say you could combine Carry Optics and Open into a national championship and run it. I used SHOT Show, like right before, right after SHOT Show, where every sponsor is there. You could turn it into a huge media event. I know that nobody likes it because, well, people are already there for a week for SHOT Show. They don't want to be there another week or a week prior or whatever. But I feel like there's something there. There's a way to turn it into a bigger media event, get more coverage, get the sponsors out there more, and just help the sport and the organization.
Exactly. And so you're exactly right. And so for me is that I feel that over the years, I mean, back in the day, back in the 80s, we would have 30, 40, vendors show up. I mean,
Wow.
the tent would be completely full. And so, the problem is, as time went on, the vendors are going like, "Hey, I want to come back, to the nationals, but Todd, you just can't afford it," because USPSA said, "Okay, the first year we charge you, $10 a table, and that $10 became, $40 a table. Next thing you know, they're paying $500 a table. Next thing you know, they're paying $1,000, okay, to be able to rent the space out." I was going like, and you want to know why we don't have any sponsors show up over the years? Okay, it's because they have outspent their, their budget and travel money just to come and show their products, and their products may not be a viable product. They may be a startup company, and so with that startup company, if we have the room for it at that facility, we should invite as many people as that want to come and show up, and there should be an open bay there, okay, for those companies to be able to go over and showcase their product, okay. So essentially, people come to the matches to be entertained, okay, not only to shoot, but they need to be entertained in many other ways. So I felt that if we have commitment to 25 vendors that going like, yeah, we would love to come. Yeah, but we're not paying that kind of money the USPSA wants to spend, Todd. It was going like, do you spend money in front side? Yeah, we spend 20 grand a year with you guys. Going like, you are more than welcome to come, sir. Only thing I asked is that if we buy a tent, okay, that I need those vendors to be able to split the cost of that tent. Okay, so a tent comes in, may cost us $5,000 to $7,000 for a tent size to be able to put 30 or 40 vendors in, or we may just bring their own tents. But we should invite those industry people to come, okay, with open arms, because we want to build relationships. Is what we want to do, not turn people away.
Well, and I think too, you'd get a lot of vendors in that regard, because now here's an opportunity for higher level shooters to look at their products, maybe give them some feedback and make it a better product, which then helps their company long term as well as the shooting community.
Right. It don't even have to be an experienced shooter. It could be somebody who, how many people I know get into the shooting sports that came from other recreational shooting, other recreational shooting sports that go like, yeah, we do that in this game, and you guys don't do that over here. And go like, wow, the guy goes, well, that's a great idea. And next thing you know, he's making a product, or he started a new company with it. So it's not necessarily an experienced shooter, but it does give a chance for the industry to be able to listen to their customers, and that is more important than anything in this business, is to listen to your customers and tell them or show them what you have and what they may or may not want to see in their product. Or how many times I've gone to a guy and go like, yeah, man, I really like your product right here, but if you cut this edge off and you make this a little easier, it feels good in my hands. Or these hearing protection you got, I mean, they really hurt top of my head. And it's kind of like, yeah, I've heard that from other customers online, but I didn't know it was coming from you, Todd. And we go, yeah. So next thing you know, they start making a new band for hearing protection. I mean, it's just one of thousands of things that I have, in passing give to companies over the years and turn around and they have made those corrections and increased their sales along the way. Not that I want any money from it or anything from it, but something shows up I probably get 100 things show up at my front door from vendors a year, every year that show up. I mean, it might be a little trinket, might be a little, I got something from a vendor the other day, sent me something, said, "Ty, you need to try this in your gun." I went, "Okay, well, I'm heading to the range after I finish with you to go try it." So it's, and then I give them feedback. I mean, I think I got a bunch of new bags that just came in, some absorbent bags. I got to go and do some testing for a company. So, I mean, it's kind of like, we are here to help everyone. And that's my biggest peeve that I have going on. I'm just a little pissed about everything, and it's kind of like, these are simple things that should have been done decades ago, years ago. But we got personalities out there that don't allow that to happen. And we got personalities within the organization that sometimes run people off, even run industry people off. So it's kind of like, why? Why do you want to do that?
Right.
So.
Well, we covered everything I wanted to talk about except for one thing, and it's a story. I'm trying to confirm that it's true, and if so, I'd like to hear the story. I heard you were asked to shoot a snake by an RO one time.
I was, yeah. That would be Shannon Smith down in Florida.
Okay.
So we were at Frank Garcia's at Universal Shooting Academy down there. So we were holding, I think the national championship was being held. I think so. I think it was the nationals. And so we there's this one bay there that's kind of wooded, and it's the only bay that's actually got bushes and trees and stuff in it that are on there. And I come walking by, and I'm getting ready to walk in the stage there, and I look and I went, "You got to be kidding me! That is the biggest rattlesnake I think I've ever seen." So the thing is, it's between us and the shooters that are in the bay downrange, and this rattlesnake, he's 6 foot long now. So I came down and I went, whoa. I mean, this thing he is moving. I mean, he doesn't like where he's at. He'd come out of the woods and he's trying to get somewhere. Now, of course, we don't want this thing to bite anybody. And so, Shannon, I hollered at the CRO on the stage beside it. I'm going like, "Hey, we have a big snake over here. We need to clear the range." And we hollered at the group. It was down in that one bay. It's going like, "Hey, we need to clear this range out. We got a snake here that we need to do something with." So Shannon comes up and he goes, "What, Todd? We'll shoot the son of a bitch." And I said, "Okay, well, I'll shoot the son of a bitch." And so now this snake is moving, and I mean, he's wanting to come across the road, and we didn't want that to happen. We wanted to get him before he got out of there. And one thing led to another. I was shooting with a single stack, and I did have my single stack gun with me, and so the snake came out. We cleared both ranges, made sure everything was safe. Shannon said, "Shannon Smith, if you ever want to play a joke on him, do not play a joke on him with a fake snake and put it anywhere near him, because he will run his mother over to get away from a snake." So he's going like, "Shoot him, Todd." And we backed everybody up with a bunch of film and had a bunch of Filipinos, and everybody was there, and some guys from South America, and they all put the camera on there. And I shot the snake, and we pulled him out. And I think I ended up stretching him out. And there's a picture down at Universal down there with me holding it, and it's about 6 foot long. And Frank Garcia had been living down there his whole life. And he goes, "Todd, let me tell you something. I've lived down here my entire life on this range, and that is the biggest rattlesnake that I've ever seen in my entire life." So true story. And that's and I think Manny Bragg actually got the rattlers off. I think the rattlers were around. He was around. They figure around 11 or 12 years old. Rattlesnake was though. So that's my snake story. That's all I got to say.
That's all I got to say about that. All right.
Yep. So I am ready to head out to the range here and do a little practice with my LO pistol here. And so that's what I'm gonna do. So Dave, I enjoyed chatting with you, man. I know I know the code of conduct thing people got getting a little crazy about, but I wouldn't get wrapped around the axle about it. Nobody should get it wrapped around the axle about that one thing. And and it may not even get approved. It may not even get put through. I mean, because think about it. I have no control of what the board wants to do. I mean, as far as agenda wise, I can approach it. I can tell them what I'd like to see, but it's going to take the members to be able to contact their next president. I'm not sure who that's going to be. Could be me. Could be any of the other 7 guys are out there, and they're as qualified as I am. They're good folks, and so I wish everybody the best. I know that you wanted to do a roundtable. I think next month or something, and I think I'm going to be at Area 4. So I'm sorry I'm not going to be able to make that, but I'm flying that day, and I'm shooting a match, and then I have to do another event, so I'm not going to be able to make that 6th one with you unless you change the date on it somehow.
Okay.
So, but I'm sure that that a lot of the presidents that are running, they have not put an agenda out. They have not put any type of agenda out. I'm sure they're going, yeah, I was going to do the exactly same thing Todd was wanting to do. Well, good, put it out. And I hope that if you don't vote for me, vote for someone who's going to vote for change. And change this organization to get this ship turned around, and let's make this thing a corporation that's going to be viable. It's going to make our members happy and increase our membership across the board, and be professional and have some fun.
Absolutely. And again, thank you for your time, Todd. It's been a wonderful conversation.
I got it. I will see you soon. Good luck with it.
All right. Enjoy your shooting.
You got it, brother. Take care.
Until next time.
Don't be a little bitch.
Yeah.